turning our attention to the Browns and what they're going to do. They still have some moves to make. They drafted Jedrick Wills and they signed Jack Conklin to a big free agent deal. The two biggest holes in the line were filled, and now there's a chance. You got Larry Warford out there, and Steve Ruiz says that if they can sign Warford, you're looking at the winning the off-season 2 years in a row. Well, you know how good that did last year. They were 6-10. Is this a guy they should go after? Or are you okay from a dollar standpoint, or are you okay with what they have right now?
I think we've talked before, every team has holes. No team is completely stacked at every position. So they are uncertain at right guard. But that's okay. They filled other priority things. I think my answer is probably what a lot of people's answer is. It depends on the price. And yes, they have some room to maneuver. But I also think they actually have a little bit invested at right guard already, right? I mean, they traded a couple picks to get Wyatt Teller
right
before the season started last year. Not a ton of investment, but they gave up some picks for him. Drew Forbes, they took a shot on in the draft, and then he got hurt last year. We haven't really seen what he might be. I think people thought maybe he was a smart sort of dark horse pick last year. They redid Chris Hubbard's deal, but they kept him around. I think Chris Hubbard certainly is a better option as a backup tackle than he is as a starting guard. But I think there's enough options that I think they can patch it together at right guard with how much of an emphasis they put on tackle. So I don't feel a strong imperative to go get Larry Warford, but I'm also not turning up my nose at a 28-year-old guy. If he was 34, I don't think you're doing it. I don't think Andrew Berry's – he's still pretty young, though.
Well, according to Steve Ruiz, that Warford is one of the slower guards in the league, but he still is terrific at blocking on zone plays. He finished, according to Pro Football Focus, the 10th best guard in the 2019 season overall, and Teller, who you had mentioned, finished 55th. So it would be an upgrade if they could get him. And you see the story about him right there. But I think it's an interesting move, and we probably had, since the free agency started, probably 7 or 8 legitimate players out there who could have been a Cleveland Brown. And in the meantime, here we are in mid-May, and nothing has happened at that point. And maybe the Browns are okay with what they have right now. If so, why make a move?
Yeah, I mean, I think because you're kind of always right. I mean, you're like kind of scooping the bottom of the ocean, and if there's a fish down there that's interesting, then I think you scoop them up. But we sort of went through this last offseason, right? I mean, I can't remember everybody, but some of the defensive line people, was it Gerald McCoy or some of the other people that I think the attitude a lot is like, well, if the Browns can get him on the cheap, why not? And it's like, well, you can't get him cheap. Somebody else is going to give him more money or give up more to get him. So, if we're talking about like, well, if you can get Larry Warford practically for free, you may as well take him. But I would imagine there might be teams with even bigger needs on the offensive line. Listen, when you have a plan, you don't always just sort of have unplanned things. It's like, well, no one thought he was going to get released, but Andrew Berry's had a plan. And so, like, I'm all for it. We have a plan. He's not in it. Our plan is go forward with what we have at right guard, and we think we'll be okay. If it's absolutely a no-risk flyer, go ahead. But I doubt that that's going to be the case. I think some other team will give him more than what the Browns would do.
It's funny when fans talk about it, they just think of it in terms of money. They don't think in terms of if the guy's any good, because I'm not sure the average fan can look at certain positions and know the difference between a good one and a bad one. I think in their own minds, I think they all interchange them, and money becomes the only object here. And that. Go ahead.
This is not a strict assessment, but I think in general, I would advise fans that the best way to build your team is to not gather up all the guys that other good teams cut. So it's like, oh, Saints are really good. They didn't want him anymore. Let's get him. I mean, like,
let's give him all the money in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay. I mean, that does happen sometimes too, right? I wanted Malcolm Jenkins. The Eagles weren't going to pay him. I wanted Malcolm Jenkins. So it can work at times that smart teams get rid of guys because of their own reasons, and then another smart team can pick him up. But also, draft guy 10th, sign the best tackle in the offseason, sign the best tight end, do things with precision. I don't know that Andrew Berry is going to be much of a scooper of guys who happen to be out there. I think he's going to be a little more precise with what he does.